Everyone. Hello. What is up, everyone? Welcome to a quick live chat. Wasn't planning on doing one of these today. That's why I did not tweet out anything about this earlier. That's why I didn't plan anything out. I'm going to try and do better about letting y'all know when these live chats are going to be going live. I'm trying to do better about that. But this one's out of nowhere, right? So Sony today has revealed the DualSense controller. That is right. The DualShock, the branding for the DualShock, which has been around since the PlayStation 1 days, is gone. It has switched to something new. They're calling it the DualSense. I don't know how long today's stream is going to be. That the main focus, I feel like, is probably going to be the DualSense stuff. But since it is a live chat, of course, you guys can drop whatever questions, whatever comments on the side that you want. We'll talk about it. We'll break them down. Let me know. I'm very curious for your thoughts on what you think about the DualSense, because it is a very different looking controller than what we're accustomed to seeing. So we can go a little bit into that. Let me know. Drop your questions, drop your comments into chat. And like I said, main focus, I'm sure, is going to be DualSense, but if there is something else that you want to talk about, drop those questions too. We can address them. I'm probably not going to go for like an hour tonight. You know, sometimes a lot of these live chats are like 45 minutes to an hour. I think today we're going to try and keep it to like a quick 30-minute chat, just because it's kind of out of nowhere. It's not the main build-up chat. So first, let's really quick talk about the DualSense itself. What is it? It's the design of it looks similar to a DualShock, though definitely with some changes. I think the big thing that stands out the most, of course, is that like two-tone color design. So for those, I'm sure everyone in here has seen it, but just in case you haven't, it's two colors. It's white for primarily the vast majority of the controller is white, and then like a strip of black along the bottom, and then you can still see the LED blue lights glowing up from underneath. I think it looks really sleek. You know, one thing I tweeted out was that it has this like sci-fi kind of vibe to it, right? Like kind of like a futuristic vibe, which I was not expecting. I wasn't expecting the controller to have like this radical of a look to it. I was kind of expecting kind of like what we're seeing with the Xbox Series X controller, where it's really, you know, Microsoft has definitely done some changes. They've definitely done some tweaks to it, but it really still looks overall similar to an Xbox One controller, just with some improvements. That's kind of what I was expecting for the next DualShock, because that's what I thought it was going to be. Instead, we get this DualSense with quite a different vibe to it. And I'm really digging it. So let me know what you think over to the side. They talk about the haptic triggers on it, which we already knew were going to be in there. But we got our first kind of look. It looks like there's some nice texturing on them, some nice texturing on the thumbsticks. And it seems to have gone over well. So for those that haven't seen, you know, over on Twitter, it's already over, I think, 220,000 likes now. On Instagram, it's over 3 million likes. So clearly the Sony brand is strong and people are really excited. Sorry, I dropped my phone. People are really excited for any PlayStation news they can get. I also thought it was funny that Sony dropped this right before Microsoft did Inside Xbox. Has anyone noticed that Sony is clearly making a trend of that? There's a trend. It can't be ignored. Sony keeps on doing these little drops right before Microsoft things. I could list them all, but really over the last 6 to 12 months, Sony's clearly trying to counter program Microsoft in their announcements. So I thought that was interesting. It's not a coincidence. This went out right before Inside Xbox, in my opinion. All right, looks like we have some comments over on the side. Let's dive into those. Let's take a look and let's see what y'all are thinking. Mateus saying, what's up? Hello. Sean Torres saying, what's up? Split End saying they're just stopping by to support the stream. Rock on. Thank you. Exile End. Clearly, Sony is teasing a Metal Gear Solid 3 remake, and DualSense is the boss edition. Nice. I like that. Are you liking it, Exile? I think it's a cool controller. Sean Torres, it looks good. Just wish that the sticks where the D-pad is. That's interesting. So yeah, let's talk about that really quick. It also, of course, still has the traditional Sony thumbsticks, which are both of them, you know, down in the center middle of the controller. A lot of people really like that about the PlayStation controllers. Like a lot of the really hardcore Sony fans, I personally do like the offset sticks, like Sean's talking about, where the one thumbstick's down low, the other one's up high. I do like that preferably myself, but this is totally a preference thing. And I think this is more of a Sony, if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of thing, because, all the PlayStation controllers have had that thumbsticks down in the center, and they seem to like that over there at Sony. So I get why they didn't change it. Personally, if I could have just had my own wishes, my own pick, I would have went with the offset thumbsticks, but that's to me, a fairly minor gripe. A lot of times, it might feel weird if I jump from an Xbox game to a PlayStation game really quickly, but I kind of adapt and they feel pretty similar pretty fast. Musad Mohammed, 2 questions. Did you see anything released from the Godfall PS5-centric OPM release today? Do you think Sony is going to release the back paddles as an add-on? Good question. I did actually take a look at some of that Godfall coverage. I think Godfall looks cool. I when that game was first announced, I saw a little bit of kind of mixed feedback online, and I think it was because Godfall was like the first thing we saw from the PlayStation 5, and it wasn't running on PS5. Of course, what we saw was running on PC, but that was like our first PS5 game. And I think a lot of people were just like, I want to see Horizon, I want to see God of War, I want to see Spider-Man. So I think that's kind of why it was met with that somewhat mixed reaction online. But I think Godfall looks cool. I like Destiny and games like that. And this is more of a melee focus than a shooter, but it's kind of that co-op, shared world, big type game. So yeah, I did see that, Mossad. I think it looks pretty cool. I think they said that the team's around like 75 developers, so not like a huge giant staff or anything like that. But I think it looks cool. I'm digging Godfall. And as for the back paddles, yeah, I'm guessing that's going to be an add-on. I could be wrong on this, but I don't think Sony showed the back of the DualSense controller at all. I think they just showed the front and kind of like a head-on angle. I don't recall seeing one of the back of the controller. So there's always a slim chance that could be built in, but I don't think it is. I'm betting that is going to be something that you buy additionally. Split end. 89. Are you guessing we end up with a white two-toned console? And with the weird size, is it a given that the new back button attachment isn't going to work? All right, so the second part of your question just answered above split end. And as for the console, yes, I think so, right? It usually, if history shows, if we can learn from history and it will tell us what's to happen in the future, one thing is that the controllers that come with consoles tie into the look of the machine, right? Usually the coloring, you don't usually buy a console and the console's one color and the controller something completely different. Not unheard of, especially like in limited collector's edition sets. Sometimes you do see that where, the controller has a completely different color than the console, but usually your standard console, they're the same. So yes, I do think that the console will probably have a similar look and vibe to what we're seeing with this controller, where it's the two-tone, white being the dominant color. That's something else I tweeted out over on Twitter, is that usually in recent years that consoles have been coming in black. That's kind of been the go-to, right? The PlayStation 4, the PlayStation 4 Pro, the original Xbox One, the Xbox One X, and even the Switch, the main casing is black or dark gray. So that's kind of been the go-to for a while. Now, of course, the 360 came out in white originally, and the Wii came out in white. So white's not unheard of, but usually, at least recently, black has been the go-to. But my guess is that the console is mostly white. It could be that the console is mostly black with white highlights, but considering the controller is really dominated by that white coloring, I think so. I think that's kind of giving us a vibe of what the actual hardware itself is going to look like. And one other thing, I hope it kind of has this futuristic vibe. I like it. I don't know necessarily that I want it for sure to have like that big giant V that we've seen in the dev kits. I'm not opposed to that, but I don't know if I'm like dead set on it. But I do hope it has this like interesting future vibe to it. I really like that. It almost has a sci-fi. One of the things I thought, this is funny because I saw Shinobi. I'm sure many of you know Shinobi from Twitter, and if not, he's a great guy. But he tweeted out this, and the controller, the first thing I think is it almost looks like something out of Mass Effect, like vibe wise, which is funny because Shinobi's a huge Mass Effect fan. So it's kind of the vibing that I get from it. All right, let's go to the next question. Mateus here. Overall reception on Twitter leans towards the Xbox controller looking ergonomically better. Ooh, interesting. Do you think the gamer crowd will be enticed enough to convert? Yeah, that's an interesting question. So right now, for me personally, I do like the feel of the Xbox controller more than the DualShock 4. I don't hate the DualShock. Some people are like super opinionated about their controllers. They're like, I'm dead set DualShock, or I'm dead set Xbox. I prefer the Xbox controller. I do think it just feels a little bit better in my hand, but I'm fine with the DualShock. I am interested to see if this does improve the feel over the regular DualShock, because you never know. It could convert someone like me who's more of an Xbox controller guy to liking it more. It definitely looks like it has a little bit of a different fit than the DualShock. It has a similar shape, but it does look a little different. So I'm curious. Hard to say without feeling a Mateus. But yeah, right now I do lean more towards the Xbox controller in terms of feel. I'll tell you what, in terms of look, I like the way the DualSense looks more than the Xbox Series X controller. But that's just because it has the DualSense has just such a cool vibe to it, whereas the Xbox controller looks more traditional. So, who knows which one will feel better. But I do like the DualSense. I think it looks really cool. Sean Torres. News came up that Nintendo is shipping Switches to North America and Europe and a bit in Japan. Yes, I did see this, Sean. I wonder how well the Switch is selling in those places that they're skipping Japan, where Switch is selling a lot. This is a great comment. Let's really go into this because, DualSense was kind of the kickoff of this chat. But like I said, we can talk about whatever. So yeah, in terms of Nintendo news, really quick, shortages, as everyone knows from who follows me from either YouTube or Twitter, I've talked about shortages are insane right now, right? They're super, super severe in the US. I mean, brutally severe. And from everything I'm hearing in Europe, of course, I'm not in Europe, but from the people that I follow and that I talk to over there, I've heard a lot of places over there seeing shortages really bad too, especially places like the UK. So yes, from what I'm seeing, late April is the expectation for more really big Switch shipments, and probably not before then. From what I've seen, the next couple weeks could be brutal still on Switch shortages. They're reselling online at places like eBay and things like that at astronomically high prices. We're talking like 200 or more over the standard $299 sticker price. So that tells you how bad shortages are. It looks like, Sean, it's gonna be a while before we see a really plentiful restock. There might be some smaller, shipments in between then, but the really big push probably not until late April. So that will be interesting to see, Sean, how it affects April sales. It could, because March was giant, but April could suffer. Exile End. It's awesome, man. I reckon Sony give me a red and blue. Ooh, Spider-Man 2 edition. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people tweeting out really cool different coloring schemes for this. And I'll tell you what, that two-tone design really lends itself to a lot of cool color combinations. I'm kind of digging the ones that still keep the black on the bottom, but then they take the top white part and change that to like a red, blue, things like that, but they still keep that black on the bottom. I'm liking that look more than some of the ones I'm seeing where it's like, oh, it's, a dark red on top and then like a lighter red on bottom or something like that. I think those two-tone ones a lot of times look a little bit, I don't want to say cartoony, but just like a little bit strange. I really like, though, when it keeps that black on the bottom and then it has a highlight color on the trackpad and stuff. I think those look cool. But yeah, I'll tell you what, it does. The design lends itself well to different color schemes. Couch. I feel like changing that wouldn't be hard to adjust. I'm not sure which part you're talking about, but probably maybe the stick positions. GC2F guy. Hey, Benji, how are you? I'm doing good. Good to see you on the stream. Sorry I'm a little late tonight. Do you like the PS5 controller and why? Yep, been going into that. Love it. Love that it has a bit of a different design, different feel. It's not your traditional one. Yes, I'm a big fan. Oh, okay. Couch saying they actually did show the back. There's a pic somewhere. Okay, I missed that, Couch. Thanks for the heads up. I'm guessing it's just plain then, right? Because I didn't see a bunch of people tweeting out like, oh, the back of the controller has this crazy thing on it. So I'm guessing it's probably just a normal plain back of the controller. So that should answer people's questions about if it has the back buttons like we've seen with the attachment. It's going to be something that you'll probably have to buy aftermarket. GC2F guy, how much do you think it will cost the controller? That's a great question. You know, that's something that we haven't seen anywhere. What's this thing going to cost? Man, my hunch could be totally wrong. My hunch is we're going to see controllers go up again. You know, it's unfortunate, but it seems to happen most gens. You know, it does seem like the controller prices keep going up. You know, I remember whenever a new controller being $40 was like a lot. And nowadays, like $60 is basically the standard. And a lot of the colored, you know, different colored controllers, they can go up to 70, 75. As a total guess, I think we see a $5 to $10 price hike. So I'm betting the basic controller 65 to 70, probably somewhere in there. I'll be shocked if it's still $60. I'll be happy. Definitely not going to complain if they're $60. But considering it does seem to be controllers keep incrementally climbing in price, wouldn't shock me, you know, to see that controller be 65 or 70, because that's the way it is for the Switch Pro controller, right? Switch Pro controller $69.99. So, you know, and they're getting away with it. So wouldn't surprise me. I'm going to crack open a White Claw. That's right, a White Claw. All right. You guys can make fun of me for drinking a White Claw. It's totally understandable. I will not blame you for making fun of me for it. All right, let's jump back into these questions. MH Jafarian, so effing beautiful. Looks like something that came out of Cyberpunk 2077's world. Maybe that's why I dig it so much. I'm so hyped for Cyberpunk. Like I said, I like the future vibe. Split End, going to be some nutty mock-ups after this reveal. Yes. MH Jafarian, making me more hyped for the console itself. I agree with you. You know what? I've seen a lot of people like in the lead up to this being like, where's the box? Where's the box? Show me the box. And I'll be honest, for me personally, that wasn't like a super high priority. I'm not against seeing the console, but I wasn't like, you know, I just really wanted to see games. Like for me, it was all about, let me see Horizon, let me see Spider-Man, let me see God of War. But I agree with you, MH Jafarian. After seeing the controller, now I'm like super intrigued since it looks way different than what I was expecting. Now I'm very curious what the box itself looks like. I'll be honest, I'll be a little bummed if the console box itself is just a plain square box now. After we've seen that controller, I hope it has a unique look. I'll be disappointed if it's just really plain. Couch, I would like a black and white console. Yeah, I agree. I hope it has that two-tone color. Musad asking about the Resident Evil 8 leaks. Yeah, what do I think? So for those of you that have not seen the leaks yet, you can turn away right now. You can, you know, cover up your ears if you don't want to hear. I'm not going to leak major story things, but some leaks have come out that do seem to be credible about Resident Evil 8. So this is just going to be going over a little bit of the concepts, but if you want no spoilers at all, you might not want to hear this part of the stream, but it'll be brief. So basically the rumors are Resident Evil 8 is subtitled Village, which makes sense because the VILL spelling the Roman numeral 8, you know, they liked that play they did on Resident Evil with the 7. So Village would tie right into that 8. It sounds like it's going back to first person like Resident Evil 7 was, which I am happy about. I know that's going to be super mixed online, but I like it. And I like it because we just had 2 third-person Resident Evils in a row. We just had Resident Evil 2 Remake and Resident Evil 3 Remake, which I know 3 has some first person in it, but it's primarily a third-person game. I like the idea of going back and forth between first person and third person because I think it keeps the franchise fresh. It gives you different looks, different feels to the games. So I like the idea of getting a first person Resident Evil again because I thought 7 was so scary. As much as I loved 2 Remake, haven't played 3 Remake yet. I thought Resident Evil 7 Resident Evil 7 was scarier than Resident Evil 2 remake, even though 2 was amazing. But I thought 7 was scarier. There's just something about that first person view that I think makes the game a little bit scarier. So I'm excited for that. It sounds like it's I'm trying to remember his name. I think Ethan is the main character from 7. It sounds like he's returning as the main protagonist in 8, and that Chris Redfield's going to be in it. So yeah, I'm hyped, Musad. I'm a huge horror fan. Hyped. If all those rumors are true, I'm way on board. All right, GC2F guy. When do you think we will see everything about the PS5, please? Oof, I wish I knew. I wish I knew. I'll tell you what, Sony is dead set on this slow trickle. You know, I've seen a lot of different opinions on whether this is a good marketing strategy, if this is a bad marketing strategy. I've seen takes all over the board on this. It's an interesting choice, you know. Early on, I'll tell you what, early on when they first started doing this slow trickle, it kind of bothered me, actually. I wasn't like raging about it, but I was just like, this feels weird. Like, can we just get the big reveal, right? But I'll tell you what, as you see like the numbers and you see like just the PS5 logo, huge numbers online. Then, you know, whenever they did the Mark Cerny stream, huge amounts of views. I think it's over 12 million views on YouTube. Now, you know, they do the controller, huge blowing up in likes and stuff. So I'll tell you what, maybe Sony are onto something with this. Maybe this slow trickle is just enough to really build people up, get them excited until that eventual full reveal. Of course, it's going to be happening. It's going to be happening soon. And I'll tell you what, here's some good news about the bad news of The Last of Us delay. Because this is something I didn't talk about, right? A lot of people theorize, this was a theory, hey, Sony don't want to talk about, like, show PS5 games because The Last of Us. They don't want to overshadow The Last of Us. Guess what? Now The Last of Us is delayed. There's nothing to overshadow. The Last of Us doesn't even have a release date yet. So let's just say, I don't know if it was, but let's just say that was their thinking why we haven't seen PS5 games. You got nothing to lose now, you know, because who knows? The Last of Us could be July, could be August, could be September, could be a launch game. Like, we have no idea. So the doors are wide open now, right? So I think soon I'm going to stick to my predictions I've been making. I think PS5 game showcase, maybe not everything, but some games, late April, early May. That's just a guess. I do not have any inside info on this. That's my guess. I think late April or early May, you know, sometime basically in the next 5 to 6 weeks, something like that. That might be, I think that's when we're going to finally see some first-party Sony games. And I think we'll see some Xbox games by then too, for those that are Xbox fans that want to see, you know, some Series X stuff. All right. MH Jafarian. Ooh, good question here. What do you think about the create button? So for those that haven't seen, the share button has been now changed to create. That's interesting, right? Because it makes me think there are some different features here than just taking a screenshot or uploading a video, right? It makes me think that create, it sounds like there's more to it. So I don't know the details, but I'm guessing that there's going to be some more functionality in terms of what you can do with your content. Maybe you can do a bunch of really detailed editing directly from the PS5 itself. You know, that would be interesting. You know, there's already some like really basic stuff you can do on it, but maybe like as an OS feature, like just built into the console, they'll have some pretty in-depth tools for editing and streaming. You know, that would be pretty interesting. Like I said, there's already a little bit there. But maybe Sony are going to incorporate a lot more into it. So remains to be seen, but that's kind of a theory. Naming that button create, you know, it sounds like there's some more going on there. Nick Cub saying it looks fire. I agree. Love it. Tony Yayo, did you get in an MMA fight during the Rona quarantine and got your tooth knocked out? That is a great question, Tony Yayo. No. So the reason I don't have this tooth, yeah, I'm missing a tooth there. It actually is from a surgery I had to get done. So I don't want to bore you with a bunch of personal details about me, but basically I had a tooth that got embedded into my jawbone that never would come down. It was just locked into my jaw. And I'm actually missing a chunk of my jaw there too. A big hollowed out hole in my jaw right there. They took the thing right out. Tell you what, I was awake through it. They wanted to, like I said, this will be super quick, but they wanted to put me under. They wanted to put me asleep for that surgery. They wanted me under anesthesia. They call my mom while I'm there because she wasn't there with me. My sister takes me up there, and they call my mom and they're like, hey, we're about to go into the surgery. The plan is to put him under anesthesia. My mom's thinking, oh, it's just a normal tooth extraction. He doesn't need to be put to sleep. You can just rip the thing right out. The doctor's like, no, like we really need to put him under. She says no. So I'm awake through this surgery. And it is brutal. It is not a normal tooth extraction. They had to chisel the thing out of there. It was brutal. So Tony Yayo, I'm sure it's a longer answer than you expected, but it was not fun times. I would have rather the tooth have gotten knocked out in an MMA fight. I would have much rather liked that than what I went through. All right. Sorry. Nick Hub saying $64.99. Yeah, I'm with you on the price of the controller. I think so. $65.70. Christopher Jenkins. Important part is that it has multiple microphones. I've seen that. Interesting. Could be used to calibrate room equalization for 3D sound effects. Christopher Jenkins, this is a absolutely phenomenal comment. So one of the things that PlayStation really harped on during the original PS5 reveal, I shouldn't even say reveal, right? Let's say the Mark Cerny deep dive. Probably a better way of phrasing it. One of the biggest things they talked about is all the audio processing that they're doing with the PlayStation 5. That's like a really big focus selling point for them. And yeah, that's an interesting point, Christopher Jenkins. They could use that for that calibration because they sound like, that's a big deal to them. So yeah, could be onto something there, Christopher. They very well might be using it for that. Sean Torres, I think they're going to cost the same as the Pro and the Joy-Con, $70. Yep, I'm with you. I'll be shocked if these controllers are $59.99. I'd just be surprised. Like I said, controllers just keep going up. MH Jafarian, will Xbox Series X controller have features like haptic feedback and adaptive triggers? I assume so because the Xbox One controller already has those. Now, they're not quite from the description exactly like Sony's are. So Sony's actually sound like they're a little bit more advanced than what we see in the regular Xbox One right now, where I think they talked about like they could even kind of like lock the controller into different, like the right now, basically it's just a rumble in the Xbox One triggers, right? It's just like a rumble for like, let's say you're reloading or you're doing a turn around a tight corner, in Forza, you can feel a little bit of a rumble. It sounds like the PlayStation ones are more advanced where it's like, it actually gets harder to pull down if it's some kind of gameplay technique where, let's say you're like struggling to pull a bow or something, like they can make it actually more difficult to push in that trigger. So that's really interesting, right? And really cool. So I would say that it's going to have some kind of rumble in the triggers, I'm sure, in the Xbox Series X controller. I don't know, though, if it's going to be as advanced as what's in the PlayStation controller, just because Microsoft hasn't talked about that yet. So I'm guessing probably not quite the same thing as what Sony's talking about. Couch. Okay, my first actual question. What do you think of PlayStation's marketing thus far? Yeah, we just kind of went into that, Couch. Yeah, it's a bit interesting. It's a slow rollout. It's definitely a slow build. It's not like, even Microsoft is also breaking up their announcements, but I feel like each time they talk, it's like more, right? Like whenever they first showed the Series X, they showed Hellblade and they showed the console. Like it's still split up, but it was like a big thing. Then when they talked about the specs, they didn't do like one piece of a spec or like a small overview. Like they dropped a ton of specs info. Each reveal, it's still split up. It's not like a traditional, hey, big dump everything at once E3 kind of reveal for Xbox, but they are doing bigger chunks at a time. It's interesting because Sony is doing a much more slow roll, right? Here's the logo. Here's a Wired article with some info, but not everything. Here's Mark Cerny's thing, where you're still not going to see the box. We still haven't seen a game from first party, I mean. So, yeah, Sony's definitely doing a slower roll, I'm not opposed to it. I just do think we need to see. I'll tell you what. The one hiccup was doing Mark Cerny's thing with no game shown beforehand. That's the one hiccup, but it's not the end of the world. All right. Let's see where we at on questions. Austin Raymond was looking at some high-res photos, and it looks like the controller has a different textured back compared to the PS4 controller. Ooh, Austin, that excites me because I hope it's like the Xbox controllers. So for those that have felt them, not every Xbox controller, but a lot of them, like the more higher-end limited edition ones, have like this nice texture on the back, like right where you hold it. It feels really good. I like it a lot better than just like the slick plastic feel. So, Austin, I hope that is accurate because I would love to have a bit more of a textured vibe on the back. It really does make a difference. I can clearly feel it whenever I hold a regular slick DualShock controller or that Xbox controller. I do like that. Eric, I'm so pumped for PS5, and I think the DualSense looks insanely good. I'm with you on both of them, Eric. Hyped for PS5, big time, and DualSense looks beautiful. Christopher Jenkins, I think this is a positive for Sony. Microsoft debuted essentially the exact same controller, but something new and exciting could turn the tide for Sony in sentiment and hype. Interesting. I definitely do think this is a win in terms of marketing. I'm not going to place it as Sony versus Xbox necessarily because out of all the differentiating factors these consoles will have, I think the controller is pretty low on the totem pole of like what you're going to buy, right? Like let's say you were dead set, I need to choose a PS5 or an Xbox. The deal breaker for me is going to be the controller. There are some of those. I'm not saying it's impossible. There's no one like that. Not saying that, but I think when you rank things for sales, it's probably pretty low. Stuff like games, I think visuals, like graphics would be a bit above the controller. I think, exclusive games, things like this would be higher up. But in terms of like a win for Sony, I definitely agree. It's a great marketing move. The overall vibe I'm seeing is mostly positive. There's definitely some negatives. There's definitely some people that hate the design. They want just a more plain controller. But overall, I do think it was a good marketing move for them. I think the overall vibe is very positive, and I think it's gotten people more excited to see the hardware now. Exile End. Sony, show me Blue Point Games remake. I agree with you, Exile, and I suspect you'll see that game alongside the official PlayStation 5 reveal because I think that game's coming at launch. I really do. I think that's a launch PS5 game. And if it's not launch, very soon afterwards, but I think it's straight up launch because that game's been in the works for a while now. Whatever it is, we've heard some rumors it's Dark Souls remake. Who knows? I can't tell you that I know that for sure because I have no connections at Blue Point. I literally don't know a single person that works at Blue Point. I know nothing. So a lot of rumors it's Dark Souls. Whatever it is, Exile End, I think you'll see it soon, and I think it's going to come out at launch on PS5. Just because it's been in development for a while. I think that game is like ready. Like, I think so. If not, definitely in the first year. There's no way Blue Point's game is like 4 years out. If you notice in the original Wired article, the very original, if we go back, when they first are talking about PS5, what do they talk about? One of those games is Blue Point. They said Blue Point's making a PlayStation 5 game. That to me says it's part of the marketing cycle for launch. Or Demon Souls. That's what I meant to say. Couch saying, give me Demon Souls by Blue Point. I just realized I was saying Dark Souls. Yes, Demon Souls. The rumor is Demon Souls. We don't need a Dark Souls remake. Demon Souls. Austin Raymond. How are pre-orders looking for Final Fantasy VII Remake after the good reviews? I think it'll have a good launch, especially during this pandemic. So, Austin, all I can say in terms of the whole pre-orders and stuff like that is that info is not as easy to come across right now as it was for me a few weeks back. And I'm sure you can probably figure out why. With the pandemic insanity going on right now, a lot of retail is down. Some of the retail that's still open is in like a mixed way, right? Not just like a standard everything's open. I get my info from talking to people at retailers. Like, that's how I get it. And sometimes directly from publishers and developers. Like, sometimes I'm lucky enough that the developers and publishers want me to talk about it. That has happened. But a lot of the pre-order stuff like that, I've worked in retail for a super long time in various different methods for various different companies. So I have a lot of connections in retail. And right now, retail's in a weird spot. So Austin, I don't have a ton to add other than what I originally said, that pre-orders were tracking extremely well for Final Fantasy VII Remake, but I don't have a new update for you. GC2F guy. I can just see the PS5 being mind-blowing, Benji. I love the optimism. Sony's been doing this for years. The PS1 days, remember, we thought the graphics were amazing. Yeah, you know what? That's funny. I remember back, I think it was Game Informer, when they ran a PS2 reveal article. And back then, you know, that's how a lot of us really got our info, right? It wasn't the same as it is now, where you can just jump online and see a million videos for everything that you want and have instant access to everything. You know, back then, video game magazines were super hype. You know, when you got a new video game magazine, it was like blowing your mind with all this new info, right? It was like a massive info dump with every issue you got, because you weren't reading about games every single day. So it was really exciting. And I remember when I got I'm almost positive it was a Game Informer issue, and they were talking about the PS2, and they were showing some screenshots in there, and they were like, this is a PS2 game compared to a PS1. And I remember my mind being just blown at PS2 graphics. So yeah, it's amazing how far we've come. And the exciting thing is PS5 is a bigger jump over PlayStation 4 than PlayStation 4 was over PS3. That's right, it is. Maybe some of the numbers don't quite look the same, right? Maybe the RAM jump isn't as impressive. If you look at just the RAM, it's not a bigger jump over PS4. But whenever you talk about the combination of the GPU, the combination of the ultra fast SSD, when you talk about the huge jump we're going to see in CPU power, I mean, it's a gigantic jump. You know, when you factor everything as a box, here's the exciting news. PS5 is a bigger jump over PS4 than PS4 was over PS3. So next gen games are going to be really something else. They're going to be really amazing. GC2F guy feeling old now. Yeah, me too, right? There's probably some people in this very stream talking like, hey, you boomer. They're probably calling me a boomer because I'm talking about video game magazines, right? All right. Avraj Pada. I hope I'm saying that right. There's some forum speculation that the initiative is working on Perfect Dark. Ooh, I think they are. Do you think that would be a good idea for Xbox's Prestige Studio? Great question, Avraj. I think they're working on maybe 2 games. This is not inside info. We're guessing here. Phil Spencer is really dodging the Perfect Dark question. If you look at, I've seen a bunch of people bring up Perfect Dark to Phil in interviews, and he's just kind of like, hey, yeah, Perfect Dark, cool. And it gives the vibe, at least to me, like, yeah, there's something going on there. I do think a new Perfect Dark is in development, Avraj. I think it is. There were some rumors before, like this has been rumored for really like the past year or two, that there has been a Perfect Dark project going on at Microsoft first party. So I think it is. And I think it really might be the initiative. If you remember, Phil tweeted an interesting tweet where he said he was at the initiative, watching them work on something new and a few things old, something old. And now in his Unlocked interview that he just did, he half dodged the question. He was like, oh, the initiative's doing some like interesting development things, that are new. That's not a normal way you develop games, but it almost felt like a half answer. I think maybe they have 2 games. Maybe one project's much further along, and then Perfect Dark is maybe on the, a side project for them, because I think from what I understand, the initiative is making a new IP. Like that's their big new game. The big game, the thing they're staffing up, the thing they're really building for, at least from my understanding from things that have been put out there, is that's a brand new IP. But they might be making Perfect Dark as well, which would be exciting. Someone is. I think someone at Microsoft's definitely making Perfect Dark. I don't think that game's on the back burner. Tony Yayo, that must have been painful. Yeah, about my surgery. It sucked. It sucked. I could feel my jaw moving in my head while they were doing it. Sorry for giving you the graphic details. I could feel it. MH Jafarian. Sorry, I scrolled 2 down. Is Resident Evil 3 a success? Yes. I can't go into super details about that. Because some of that stuff's going to be NDA stuff. So I can't talk too much about that, but the answer is yes. It is a success. The scale of the success, it remains to be seen, but yes, Resident Evil 3 overall, yes, doing well. Sorry, I can't go more in depth than that, but good news for Resident Evil fans, doing well. Sean Torres, I wonder if they use HD Rumble. Yeah, talking about the controllers. GC2F guy, do you think PlayStation will give us a Bluetooth earpiece? Oh, this is a good question. Again, for the PS5. So for those who've seen it, it looks like there is no headphone jack on the PlayStation 5 controller. I don't know if that's confirmed or not, so I don't want to spread false info here if it's not. But it appears that there is no traditional headphone jack on the PS5 controller, the DualSense. So it looks like you may have to use a wireless headset of some sort. So to answer that question, I suspect there will be some sort of Bluetooth headset, but maybe not, because there is some sort of built-in speaker to the controller, it looks like. So maybe their idea is just to save a little money. Hey, out of the box, there's no headset. Maybe out of the box, what you've got is the one built into the controller. And then if you want something, better, nicer, you go out and you buy your own headset. Kevin Kirschenpad. Do you think the 4 buttons, triangle, circle, etc., will light up as their colors? Oh, man, that would be cool, Kevin. Wow. That would be hype. So if you haven't seen, it looks like all the buttons are translucent on the front of the controller. The D-pad, kind of like the Vita. The Vita D-pad was like clear buttons, and it also looks like they're clear buttons over on the side. That would be super sweet, Kevin. I'm going to guess no, because it would add a little bit of extra cost onto the controller. Probably not super expensive, but a little bit extra to make those buttons light up. You'd have to do a little bit more engineering into it. I'm going to guess no, Kevin, but if that's true, that would be sick. I would be way into that. GC2F guy. Saying that he likes Kevin's idea. I do too. It's so cool. I'd love to see it. The Madhouse animation. PS5, are the rumors true? Are you talking about like the overheating and stuff like that? I don't know. I don't have info on that. That's a hard one to talk about. It's hard to talk about just because it's like, it feels almost like it's like, I hate to use the word fanboy. I don't even like going into console wars. I hate that stuff. Like, I really hate it, but it almost feels like a rumor that was like built online to like, discredit PlayStation. So it always feels weird to me to go into those kinds of rumors, but it could be real. It could be. I have no idea. I have no idea if the PS5 is running hot or not. I don't know. I really don't know. Could be, though. I don't think it's impossible when you look at the clock speed on the PlayStation 5. I just don't know. All right. GC2F guy. Yeah, like the light bar can change color, so you never know. They could. The Madhouse animation. How did you get a lot of subs? I'm so slow. So my YouTube actually builds slower than my Twitter. My Twitter is kind of like my main thing. That's like my main baby. Over on Twitter, I have almost 9,000 followers now, which is humbling. I didn't expect to have 9,000 followers almost in less than 2 years. That blows my mind. I only made that account like a year and a half ago. So I'm humbled by it. YouTube, I'm super happy for my followers. I think I'm up to like 1,300 now, which is awesome. I love the interaction, but the YouTube, for me at least, does build slower. As to the like how I'm building it up, the Twitter definitely helps Madhouse animation. I that's like my main platform, and I have a lot more energy from my Twitter, a lot bigger following. So some of that bleeds over into my YouTube. My YouTube grows slower because I'm not pumping videos all the time. At least from what I've seen, the biggest YouTubers, the people that do really well on YouTube primarily, they're constantly uploading videos. So Madhouse, if you're looking for a little bit of advice, the things I would advise is just make a lot of content. If you're really trying to grow YouTube, right? That's one way I've gotten my Twitter to grow. I'm very active on Twitter. I'm always on there. I'm tweeting all the time. I'm spreading news. I'm spreading, I try to do the best I can. I take it serious. I don't approach YouTube or Twitter as just like a throwaway thing. I really try to work at it. So I would say, A, put your all into it. And then B, it does seem like you have to have a lot of content to really grow YouTube. Like I said, I do about one video, maybe 2 videos a week. And that does more of a slow build. From what I've seen, the people with hundreds of thousands and millions of followers on YouTube, they're pumping out videos all the time, like every day, and sometimes even a couple a day. So you may have to go that route. I know it's a ton of work, but to really get your YouTube going, I think that's what you got to do. All right, hope that answers your question. Viv FTP. Hi, Benji. Did you have any thoughts about the interview with Crytek? Yeah, this was interesting. Engineer, a couple days ago that was redacted. Let me take a drink really quick. All right. So for those that have seen, basically there was an original interview with a Crytek engineer. And Crytek, these are very, very smart people. These are the people that build the Cry engine. They're infamous, for Crysis, which was just bleeding edge visually at the time. These are some smart people. And he did an interview where he kind of claimed that the PlayStation 5, the power in it's actually maybe more strong than the Xbox Series X, just because his claim basically was just the way it's set up. It's easier to get the maximum amount of power out of it than the Xbox. Now, I've heard differentiating things, right? The people from Digital Foundry, who I super respect as well, they seem to be very confident that the Xbox is more powerful. Here's the thing. I don't think we'll truly know the complete advantages and disadvantages to each console until we have them out, released, because there are strengths and differences to each one. Now, in terms of straight broad, brutal GPU power, the Xbox is ahead. It has a bigger teraflop count, it has more transistors. It's just on paper, it's a stronger card. But the PlayStation 5 has that super, super fast SSD in it. And a lot of developers are saying, hey, that might be really useful for like storing and getting super quick storage into games, basically using it as like an expanded super fast RAM pool. And it is a faster SSD than the Xbox's is. The Xbox's is still super fast, but the PlayStation's faster. So there are advantages and disadvantages to both. I don't think we'll know everything until they're out, so it's kind of hard to know which way the exact power gap is going to lie. I think it's kind of tough to know right now. All right, where we at? Matthias saying, just wanted to say I really like your content and insights on Twitter. Keep it up. Thank you. Thank you so much. Like I was just talking about, I put a lot of effort into it. And I think like any content creator, I don't love using that term, but that's what I do, right? If I'm on YouTube or if I'm on Twitter, I'm creating content to help people out, to interact with people. I love doing this stuff. Sometimes it can like get in your head that you're not good at it. I think everyone experiences that. I think it's super common. I'm not saying I'm like out of place with that. I bet you the biggest YouTubers in the world sometimes are just like, I just feel like I'm not good. I suck. So thank you. Little comments like that. I don't like fishing for compliments, but I super appreciate Matthias. I mean, it means a lot to me. It really, really does. It really does. So anyone out there that has content creators that they enjoy, that they like, if there's people on Twitter, if there's people on YouTube you like, definitely let them know, no matter how big they are or no matter how small, because it does make a difference to people. It really does. Blanco 718. You think Horizon Zero Dawn 2 will also be a launch title or within the first year? Yes, I do, Blanco. I think Horizon Zero Dawn 2 is definitely in the first year. I'm not positive if it's launch. I wouldn't say it's impossible, but I definitely think it's in the first year, because if you look, Horizon came out, what was it? I think it's been like over 3 years now. By the time we hit holiday, I could be off on my math here. I think we're basically at over right within. No, I think this holiday would be 3 years. And then after that would be 4 years, because it came out in like February. So I think it's within that time frame, within the first year, because I don't think they're going to need more than 4 years to make Horizon Zero Dawn 2. I just don't think so. A huge chunk of the work was already done with Horizon Zero Dawn 1 in terms of pre-production. They know what game they're making now. They don't have to come up with a whole new concept. They know who their characters are. They know their world. They know their main gameplay loops. Of course, you're going to want to expand on that. You're going to want to add a ton of new characters. You're going to want to add a bunch of new gameplay elements. But your core idea is established. Horizon Zero Dawn 2 took basically, I think, over 5 years to create. It was something like, with pre-production, it was like 7 years, I think. I'm guessing within 4 years they can get Horizon Zero Dawn 2 done. So yes, Blanco, I think that game's within the first 12 months. Viv FTP. Also, I think Sony are aiming to make the PS5 experience better across the board. Controller with haptics, resistive trigger, Tempest audio, no loading times. That's a great point, Viv. That's actually a very, very good observation. It does seem like that, right? They're kind of going for like an across the board thing. It's not like, hey, let's just pump just the graphics super high, or hey, let's just focus on this one thing. It does seem to be like a little bit of everything, right? Let's change up the controller quite a bit. You know, the DualShock 4 and the DualShock 3 are really similar. There's definitely some differences, but not to the degree I feel like between DualSense. You know, that was enough of a change that they completely changed the name. They didn't call it the DualShock 5. They gave it a whole new branding. And yeah, the instant loads, things like that. Yep, you're right on the money. I agree with you. Does seem like they're going for an across the board approach. Where are we at? 51 minutes. Of course, the stream ends up an hour. I'm fine with it. I just didn't want to keep people up super late. You know, my plan was like, let's go 30 minutes, but you guys always ask such good questions. We always end up going an hour, it feels like. So, you know what? Let's do it. We'll go for an hour. We're at 51 minutes. There's enough questions here, I feel like, probably to fill up the last 10. So, yeah, let's just crank out another 10 minutes of talk. We'll wrap it up right when the timer hits an hour stream, okay? So we got about 10 more minutes. MH Jafarian, if there's a PS5 full reveal, give us live reaction on this channel. Keep on keeping on. I would love to, Jafarian. If you know what, if they announce it early enough and I can get off work, because that's the thing that scares me. Things that scares me is I'll either be at work or something like that. If they give me the lead up enough time where I can ask off for it, you betcha. You guys can count on it. I will do a live reaction on this channel. We'll have it up live. We'll have the chat up. We'll have the whole deal. So I'd love to, Amish Jafarian. Let's plan on it. Hopefully there's enough announced time for it, which I think there would be. I'd be surprised if they just gave us like a day or two's notice, but it wouldn't be unheard of for Sony. Look at this DualSense announcement. You know, I don't think it would be like that, where it would just be boom. But I could see them being like, oh, hey, in 2 days, we're going to do the full PS5 reveal, because it's going to be digital. It's not going to be a conference. It's going to be a digital thing. So I hope they give me the lead up that I can make sure I'm off work for it. Couch saying, whoa, I didn't know the jump between PS4 and PS5 was that large. It is, Couch. When you factor everything, you got to factor it across the board, but it's a huge jump. Masad Muhammad, any thoughts on Quantum Error? Ooh, I don't think I actually saw this game. I know they said they're releasing for PS5 first, but the early footage doesn't seem exciting so far. Musad, I've missed Quantum Error. I'm not super familiar with that one. Is that an indie game? I don't want to misinform. I don't know. I think I missed this announcement. Quantum Error. Yeah, I can't recall that one. So sorry, I can't give a comment on that one just because I don't know. I missed that announcement somehow. Marcelo Dravato. Hey, Benji, what up? What is up, Marcelo? Do you think Microsoft could bring some third-party games day one and Game Pass? Ooh, this is interesting. For the Xbox Series X launch. Marcelo, that is an interesting question I have not seen asked yet. Will there be third-party day one next-gen games on Game Pass? Interesting. Marcelo, for now, unless it's like a contracted exclusive, right? Like it's a game that is exclusive to Series X and it's not going anywhere else. I'm going to say no for now. I don't think like any of the really big, launch games for the Xbox Series X, which I'm assuming are going to be stuff like Assassin's Creed, Call of Duty. I'm expecting these types of games day one. I don't think you'll see those in Game Pass, but maybe if Microsoft has locked down a third-party exclusive, like that's only coming to Xbox, I could see something like that, Marcelo, but I don't think there will be like a multi-platform big game. Maybe like an indie title, maybe like a smaller team, but I don't think you'll see like those really big AAA. I don't think one of those will, just as a guess, but I don't think so. But it's a good question. Sean Torres. Microsoft should work on Banjo and a Conquer game. I'd be way down with that, Sean. And so would a lot of people. I feel like that is one of that and Perfect Dark are like the two IP that Microsoft aren't using currently. People always ask for, like always. So I'm surprised there's not a Banjo game. Conquer I can somewhat understand because Conquer is like somewhat controversial. I love Conquer. I think it's really funny. It's crude humor and stuff, but it's like it's a unique game, right? There's not many games out there like Conquer. But Banjo, I am shocked we didn't get a single Banjo game this gen, right? No. Yeah, Nuts and Bolts was the last new game. We got the whole rare replay pack, but there hasn't been a new Banjo game this entire gen. I'm surprised. I feel like Banjo is a big enough name. You don't have to make every game a massive budget, right? I feel like this is something that kind of gets lost sometimes is like not every game has to be this $100 million giant project. You could make a Banjo game with like, that's fun. It's cool on like a smaller budget. It doesn't have to be this giant thing. A prime example of this would be Ratchet and Clank. When they brought Ratchet and Clank out, that came out at $40. You don't come out at $40 if you have a giant AAA budget. Now, I'm sure Ratchet and Clank wasn't cheap on PS4. I doubt that they made that game super cheap, but it wasn't super expensive. It was like this nice middle range. I would love to see a Banjo game like that. Love to. So I think Banjo and Perfect Dark for sure should come back. Conquer, I would love to see it, but I'm not sure if Conquer will or not. I feel like Conquer has less of a chance. Couch, hey Benji, do you want a Resident Evil 4 remake? Ooh, that's a good question. 4 has been re-released so many times, and it came out somewhat recent enough. I feel like you don't have to. 1, 2, and 3 are like so much older games, especially like 2 and 3, because those hadn't had a remake. Resident Evil 1 had a somewhat more recent remake, but like 2 and 3, it'd been a long time for those games. So they really made sense to get remakes. 4, I would be in, Couch. Like I would be down. If they announced Resident Evil 4 remake, I would definitely be excited. I think it's less necessary than 2 and 3 were. Like those ones really made sense to me. But I'd be down, but I'm not like pushing for it, if that makes sense. It's not one of those things where I'm like, hey, get Resident Evil 4 remake out the door. But I'd be in. Exile End. I can't wait to see what Corey does with PS5 and DualSense. Corey Barlog talking about God of War. Hell yeah. Hyped for God of War 2. KH. Hey, Benji. 4:30 in the morning here in Germany. Still awake. Keep up the good work. K, you are a hero. What are you doing up at 4:30? Hey, I hope I'm giving you some entertainment. Thanks for being here, K. That's brutal. 4:30 in the morning. You're awesome, K. Thanks for being here. Greetings from the USA. Love you, Germany. Hope you're doing well over there through all this craziness, this chaos. Thanks for being a trooper and being in on the stream that late. What a trooper. You're awesome. Jaffe Taffy. This next-gen hype cycle is so exciting when those reveals trickle out, but all I want is for Sony to go back to their dark and weird commercials and market the PS5 with a crying baby. Oh, man, that was something else, right? That was the PS3 ad campaign, right? That was certainly something. You know what I would like to see? I was on a podcast. I think it was the PlayStation Trophy Room. I think that was the name of I don't want to mess up the name. They were great. I'm pretty sure it's what it was called, was the PlayStation Trophy Room. I was on there as a guest, and he brought up the host. He was like, hey, let's get a Kevin Butler one. I would love to see a new Kevin Butler ad. Those were so much fun. You know, maybe you don't have to do like a whole campaign. Maybe you don't have to do like 50 Kevin Butler commercials, but how fun would it be to just have that one Kevin Butler PS5 ad? That would be a lot of fun. I think that relationship ended on bad terms because didn't he go and do like a character that was very similar for another company? I think I heard something like that. But yeah, I would love to see one Kevin Butler PS5 ad. That would be a blast. I would love to see that. Just bring him back. Bring him back. One more. GC2F guy. I'm going to say good night, Benji. Enjoy your night. Yeah. Hey, good night, GC2F guy. Thanks, everyone. Like I said, it was a later stream than normal. Take care and stay safe. Yes, you take care too. Matt Duffy. Hi, Benji. Big fan. Thank you, Matt. Thank you. I appreciate it. I was just wondering what you thought about the response towards the design of the PS5 controller and if it potentially could indicate anything sales related. Thanks. You're the man. You're the man, Matt. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, I think it's good. I think it's a good indicator, Matt. Like I said earlier, you can't pin everything with sales on controller, but what you can track is hype. And you know what? Internet hype is a real thing. It doesn't have a 1-to-1 ratio, right? You can't always say, hey, this thing blowing up on Twitter instantly equals it's going to sell a bajillion copies, right? Or a bajillion sales. But there is definitely a correlation. Let's look at Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing has been blowing up social media. Guess what else? It's been blowing up sales. The way you blow up social media is a ton of people are interacting with your content. It's exposure. And if you look at the controller, it's generated huge metrics, over 3 million Instagram likes. It was over 210,000 likes on Twitter when I started the stream an hour ago. So yeah, Matt, I would say it definitely indicates strong PlayStation interest, strong PS5 interest. Udain Tomar, hey Benji, love your work. Keep rocking. Thank you. You guys, all the comments tonight are so nice. Thank you so much. Love the new PS5 controller design, but we'll miss the headphone jack. I understand that. I understand people that are bummed about the headphone jack being missing. I totally get it. For me, I usually use like wireless headphones, but I totally get it. For those that like that wired headphone jack connection, it is a bummer. That's kind of how I feel about the Series X optical port. There's no optical port on the back of the Xbox Series X, and I'm bummed about that. Not everyone is, but I'm bummed about it because that's how I plug in, my higher end headsets, like my Astros and stuff, have plugged in through that. USB-C for the win. Yes, that's awesome. Big fan of the USB-C. All right, I'm going to take these last questions. Zero the Silent Hero has the last question, so I'm going to get down to zeros. I'm not going to answer any after that. I super am sorry. If anyone drops a question after that, I apologize. We'll get to the questions on the next stream. But since it is an hour now and it's late, we're going to answer these last chunk, and then we're going to call it a chat. All right, everyone? But I'll be back. You know this. We'll have another chat here really soon. Joey R. I'm not sure how well a Banjo game would survive in the modern world. That'd be akin to Duke Nukem coming back out. I think it's a little different for Banjo because platformers are still really popular, Joey. But I do think Conquer runs a bit into that, right? Conquer is like, oh, Joey says shit. Conquer, not Banjo. Okay, good thing I saw that second comment. That makes sense. I get what you're saying, Joey, about Conquer. Yeah, it's tough. I think you could do a Conquer that would work. I think you could have some fun with it. But you would definitely have to adapt it a little bit. I still think you could do some of the crudeness, some of that. I wouldn't be a fan of making it like squeaky clean because that's not what Conquer's about. Like if all of a sudden Conquer came out and he's like this like super kind, not foul-mouthed person, it would just be like, what is this? But I think you could pull it off, but it would be harder, Joey. I agree. Bringing Conquer out would be a lot tougher than bringing Banjo back. Banjo's pretty easy. I feel like the demand would definitely be there. Conquer would be tough. Not impossible, but tough. Udain, looking forward to more details regarding the haptic feedback. Me too. I want to see that in gameplay. I think it's very intriguing. Feel the grip has improved and more similar to the Xbox controller. I agree with all those comments. Kid Smooth saying, what's up? What is up, Kid Smooth? Thanks for jumping in the stream. Udain Tomar saying, what you said about Resident Evil 4 Remake, I was also amazed when I saw the Saints Row 3 remastered version. Like, why? But I guess why not? I kind of felt the same, Udain. I don't want to bash it because I actually really liked Saints Row 3 when I played that game, but it does feel a bit like not necessarily a necessary remake, or remaster, because that game's not super old. It came out on the 360, so just a gen ago. You can make arguments that there has been games, that have been remastered within that time period. Saints Row is a big franchise. I have seen some people excited about it, so I totally get it. But yeah, I'm with you. It's more of those like, okay, guess why not, kind of things for me, because I'm not a giant Saints Row fan. I like Saints Row, but I'm not like, it's kind of like, okay, cool. But I'm sure like really hardcore Saints Row fans are really excited about it. Sean Torres, Microsoft should have used that push that Smash gave Banjo. Agree, Sean. Agreed. I hope they announce Banjo, like a Banjo game. It would make sense with the big push from Smash. Smash is a gigantic game, huge game. Makes sense. Let's announce a Banjo game. Udain, even Mafia 3 has had leaks that it might be getting a remaster alongside Mafia 2. Ooh, that is strange. Really? I did see something about Mafia 2 getting a remaster. Mafia 3 would be weird. That'd be weird remastering Mafia 3. That game is not that old at all. Like at all. That's not a very old game. Joey R. Capcom shouldn't be going to the remake well too often. Need to keep an eye on modern RE games, aka RE8. Agreed, Joey. Good news is it sounds like Resident Evil 8 is next year, but I definitely agree with you. We need a break from remakes for now, especially for Resident Evil. Take a break. I'm fine with doing some more remakes, but let's really focus on Resident Evil 8 next and give RE4 a couple years. I wouldn't like to see RE8 next year and then RE4 the year after that. I would rather, let's say they're committed to doing a Resident Evil game every single year, have RE8 and then some other kind of Resident Evil game. I don't know. I don't think that 4's remake should be that soon. Give it a couple years, before we get that RE4 one. Just personal opinion, but yeah, they should focus on new content. The Big Low 25. Do you think they will do some deals with Game Pass with the Series X? I do. I do think there will be some bundles like that. I do think that they will have some major Game Pass deals and some pack-in deals. I bet you they'll have some stuff where it's like, hey, you buy an Xbox Series X and you get 3 months, 6 months of Game Pass. I definitely expect something like that. And then Zero the Silent Hero here, scrolling through Twitter, and I had to stop and say thanks for being there to talk about stuff like this with your community. It is awesome. Thank you, Zero the Silent Hero. Love doing it. I think that is a chat, right? There's just a couple comments here from the bottom. Udain, I haven't played Final Fantasy VII Remake yet. When I play it, I'll have it this Friday. I'm picking it up Friday. I will talk about it in stream and on Twitter once I get it, once I play it. Sky8 saying greetings from Italy. Greetings from the U.S., Sky. Thanks for being here. I hope Italy's staying strong. Thanks, everyone, for another chat. It was awesome. Chat went longer than I expected, but it was awesome like always. Y'all are the best. So I'll see you on Twitter or I'll see you on YouTube. Have a good night, everyone. Have a good day if it's at your time. Go play some games. Be safe. And I will catch up and see you all soon. Peace, everyone. Thanks for another awesome stream. Bye.